Well, this is a bit of an impromptu live. We've been really busy here, and in fact, the whole sequence over the last couple of months has been very interesting. I used to write my thoughts onto the website, and they were quite a lot of fun for me to write, what I'm feeling and this and the other. And I just realised I haven't written one for I don't know how long, 6 weeks or more, because the whole process of the entrance turning up, Jean-Luc and then Mark and now Uku, that's emotionally draining, or it takes some brain power and stuff, so I haven't got round to it. I keep coming up with these ideas, like subjects to write about, but I've never actually got to do it because I don't have the time to sit quietly and so on. And anyway, then there's so much going on now. It's crazy good, right? That's the first thing. And everything's winding down at the same time, so there's no routine. We're actually responding to different things that are happening and so on. So the last week in particular, I was supposed to do questions and answers on the weekend. Didn't happen. Uku turned up. Fantastic Sunday. Really good to see him. What a great guy. He's actually left now. He took off today to go into Nantes, and then he'll fly back home tomorrow. And great, that's the first time that Jane and I have actually met his wife and met the kids and stuff, so really good fun. And then in amongst all that, as you know, we've been having discussions with Les Sables d'Olonne about 2022, and that's ongoing. Nothing has been finalised, but obviously my participation in 2022 becomes a bit of an issue, and I always knew it sort of would, and I've been humbled by all the comments, if you haven't seen them, in terms of a post we put up on Facebook. Our friends at Voilier magazine were here yesterday, I think, or day before, and we were talking, and they put it up in print that I wasn't going, and I didn't realise it was going up so fast. So I thought I'd better explain that really quickly, that I have made a decision not to compete in 22, and yes, it is disappointing for me. A funny sensation. It's like as if I feel like I'm a fraud. I feel as if I'm one of those guys out there, or girls or whatever, say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and it never happens. Fortunately, in my life so far, everything that I said I'm going to do, or most things, I didn't get into space. I tried. That's another story. I've been able to pull off, and the GGR is one of those things, and I really, honestly, truly did want to compete in this one, and the whole event and the adventure of it has been incredible. 2018 edition, it's still going. We've still got 2 sailors out there, and hopefully Igor later on. So it's achieved a lot of very satisfying things for Jane and I. And as you know, I've got the Joshua boat, I've got the whole concept of that class, and there's a few people interested. They want to see the first boat. And so that was a progression. It wasn't a new statement. That was always the plan, to do 22 after 2018. Now, 18 has been, in my mind, incredibly successful. Forget about all the ups and downs. The reality was that we set the race up to inspire people and get out and promote adventure, and it's something that I wanted to do. It was giving an opportunity for any sailor to have a go, and that was really wound out yesterday, where Uku was the first one to make the statement. Now, I've known it for a long time, but I didn't want to keep preaching to people. Uku said very plainly and very clearly that he bought the boat, he did the race, he's come back, he's selling the boat, he'll get exactly the same as he paid for it, basically. So the capital cost of the boat is nothing, and that was something that was really important in the concept of the GGR. You don't have to spend €200,000 to do the GGR. And one way is explained by Uku. He had to pay the entry fee, safety gear, and buy all his food, the huge amounts of food he took. But he's got out of it, and he's had this incredible experience, and it hasn't cost a lot of money. Anyway, I digress from that. So that's just once again proving the concept that the GGR works. And I really want to do it, but what's happened is that the GGR itself has become a very important part of that principle of expanding and sharing and inspiring people with adventure. And all our sailors have done that, and they continue to do that. And now the first sort of general discussions I was having with Yannick, over a private dinner. It wasn't part of the official discussions, but we were talking about all the ups and downs, things we've got to do, and if we want to make this happen. And in the end of it, he and I both agreed in principle, and on what we were trying to do. I said to him, look, I think I'm starting to realise that from our perspective, when we're approaching sponsors, and we've had an interesting, we've got some people talking that want to talk to us now. They're expecting and they're hoping that I'm going to be here to sort of pilot the next edition of the GGR. And so the GGR itself has become very important. So, once again, I've had to make a decision that for me to, ensure that hopefully we can get some serious money to grow the event the way we hope we do, I'm not going to get to sale. That's the bottom line. So that's the reality. It's pretty simple. It's a very simple equation. Thanks for all the comments on the people about how this edition's gone and all that sort of stuff, and we'll carry on regardless. So yes, I'm not doing 22, but the GGR is fantastic, and the second edition is going to be really good. Don't get scared if we find a good, big, powerful sponsor to back the event. It's not going to change. I mean, it'll just get bigger and better. It's first and foremost for the entrance and the whole principle of the experience of being a human adventure, serious challenge, very simple, no technology, all that's going to stay exactly the same. And that's the most important. The next thing is the actual event. The bigger we can make it, the more people will see it, the more exposure and the more fun they'll have with it, and get to see some pretty interesting characters doing some amazing things. And then finally the sponsors will get a return, and they'll get a return. So while we say they're sort of down here, they're not at the bottom, they're the most important, but we're not going to turn it around like some of the other events where the sponsors are driving the event and it becomes driven by a lot of the commercial aspects, and at the end of the day the entrants are down the bottom here, participating in a commercial venture. That'll never happen for GGR. We've got our place in sailing. We love all the other events, but the GGR is special and will continue to be that way. So that's the reality. That's why I'm not doing 22. So we're going to finish the Joshua boat. I still want to own one. They're quite an interesting boat, and and hopefully, if all goes well, we'll get it here by the end of the year. I'm going to there's a whole series of things that you'll see happen over the next number of months, and stand by for July the 1st. There's some big announcements that will happen around about then. So now, as time goes by, we're still waiting for Istvan to turn up. We're hoping that he turns up sometime mid next week, probably be Thursday, I think, by the look of the weather. There's he's in a slow patch right now, then he'll get moving for about 3 days, and then after that there's an issue of some headwinds coming midweek, light headwinds, and then possibly no wind, so you might be able to squeak through, push to windward and get there, or it might be delayed. So really he could be anywhere from the 20th, 21st and maybe even 22nd, so watch that space. Tapio's still down the back there, light headwinds again. He's not going anywhere in a hurry. Mark Slats is back now, facing all the numerous meetings he's got. He's busy. Uku's really enjoyed his time here, and I bring that up because Mark Slats is busy, but Uku's going to be just as busy when he gets back to Estonia. He's a bit of a national hero now, so I think he knows he's going to be very busy with keeping track with that. And Jean-Luc's still out writing his book, so that's cool. And it was great to see Susie too. That was really cool when she was here with Uku. It was good to get the gang back together again, so to speak. And we had actually, I got a really great email last night from Nabil. Nabil, as you know, he pulled out into the Cape Verdes with a dud self-steering gear. I thought he was sailing the boat home, and then I heard he sailed it down to the Caribbean, so he's been off the air a bit, no emails, and he came back and said, yep, I'm coming, I'm going to be here in April for the prize giving, so that's cool. So now pretty much everyone's going to be here except maybe Philippe Pesch and Kevin Fairbrother. I think everyone else is probably going to be here. That'll be a lot of fun, something to look forward to. The 22 race is shaping up to be something else. I can tell you that we've got a lot of entries coming in now. In fact, it's quite scary because it's like one of these things where we've got all these people around the edges that have got the application forms, and they all say they're coming in, and I think now there's probably only that many spaces left in the GGR for 22 in the Suhaili class. So but we'll wait and see what happens. So I think there'll be a lot of developments in the next few days. People out trying to work out what boats to get and so on. If you're in Australia or New Zealand and you're looking to do the GGR, there's a new boat that's just popped up for sale, and it's an absolute glamour, incredibly inexpensive and very good. So send me a message if you're serious, and I'll tell you about it. And it looks like at this stage we've got 2 confirmed entries from Australia right now, and plenty of no, hang on, 3. Okay, so as of today, we have 3 confirmed entries in the GGR from Australia, and 2 of those are from Mark Sinclair's Captain Coconut's place in Adelaide, which is my hometown. Quite funny. Anyway, I think that's about it for getting up to speed. We hope to make the final announcement soon about the prize giving on April the 22nd, but everyone will be here. Looks like there's going to be a few boats here as well. Some of the 22 entrants are going to bring their boats in. Uku's boat will be here, Jean-Luc's boat will be here, Robin Davies' boat will be here. There's going to be a few, so there'll be a few things on the marina if you're coming in, and Joshua will be on the marina as well. And and the prize giving component of the presentation on the 22nd of April will be open to the public. Okay, so I can tell you that for sure. But it's just the fine detail we're waiting for. Okay, I was thinking there was something else that I was going to say. Anyway, I'll get back to this. Is the questions and answers from, I think, nearly 2 weeks ago, and we'll put another lot up in a minute, just so you can tap into that if you've got something, and we'll see how we get to it. I haven't read these for a couple of weeks, but anyway, from Chris Peacock, question: did Jean-Luc and Mark beat the clipper ship times that Chichester set out to do? My first impression there is probably not. Because the clipper ship time, in fact, I'd have to check. Probably not. I should have done my research on this and given you a definitive answer, but I think probably not. But I'll get back to you. So keep an eye out, and I'll either give you an answer on the next one, or I'll put it up as a post. But yeah, the clipper ship ones are a bit tricky. Anyway, Veronica Bond, would it be fair to say that Istvan has had the hardest time of all contestants in the GGR? I mean, there's some contestants that didn't make the finish line, and it looks like Istvan's going to make the finish line, so I'd have to say that's a definitive no. Right? Linus Wilson, how many calories a day did Uku eat when he did not catch fish? Now that's interesting, because I'm assuming that Linus is talking about from Hobart onwards. If you watched the live on his boat yesterday, we actually saw the packets of the food he had, and they were there was good and bad to that. The bad news was that the dried, freeze-dried meal was like every other freeze-dried meal, and most of them have got about 300 to 500 calories in them. Not a lot. Let's say it was 400 calories in the freeze-dried meal. It's not a lot. But the good news was that the soup, I was thinking it was like a cup of soup, a little packet with a bit of powder in it and put in the water. It's not quite like that. It was actually a freeze-dried soup. It was bordering on being, if you saw the packet, it was bordering on being halfway between a normal powdered soup and a freeze-dried meal. So at least it had some stuff in it. They're the only 2 things that he had every day for the last number of months. And by my estimate, if you got 400 there, you probably got another 200 there. So probably 600, 650 calories a day, something like that. Not a lot. And it really showed. They did get a set of scales to him last night. I got the message last night. And when they weighed him, he'd lost 21 kilos, but he's probably put on, I reckon, in the last few days, he's probably put on a couple of kilos as well. He's been continually eating and enjoying it. We had dinner at the restaurant the other night, and it was really a lot of fun. Great guy. So that's that one. Michael Simpson, will Istvan be able to stop to have medical help for his fingers and not be placed into the Chichester class? Well, he's nearly home. His fingers, he took that vegetable supplement thing, which helped it, which was a good thing. And he's nearly here, and he hasn't mentioned his fingers and the fungus and all that sort of stuff for a while. So, but if he had have stopped, yes, he goes straight to Chichester class. Julie Anderson, hi Don, why do you call it Windy TY when the menu just says wind? Silly question, but has been bugging me since the start of the race. Well, if you actually Google Windy TY together, that's the website for the weather processing system called Windy. I call it Windy TY. Windy TY. It has nothing to do with our yellow brick tracker. It has nothing to do with the GGR. It's weather for anyone, anywhere in the world, and it actually has a lot more features on the real Windy TY than the Windy that we have on the yellow brick tracker. Okay, and I use that all the time. So I've been using Windy TY for the last 5 years. Before that, 5 or 6 or 7 years maybe. Before that, I used to use a group called Passage Weather. It's another good one, a simple one. It gives you similar info, but Windy TY was good because it has the really simple diagrams and really simple. It's intuitive. You can understand what's happening with the wind and all that sort of stuff. So, but it actually was originally called Windy TY, and that's on their website as well. So, and that weather service is fantastic. I found it to be very accurate. And you'll see the two models when you get onto their real site that has nothing to do with GGR. You've got the two weather models there, the computer models. You can check anytime, and that'll give you, that's for all the way around the world, anywhere in the world. And you've got lots of other things you can play with on their main website. Okay, Darren Korea. Hi, Don. Given all the drama with dismastings and other rigging problems experienced in the GGR, would you be prepared? How would you prepare a new rigging and mast for 2022? Would it require a John Sanders-like preparation with specialised guidance? Now, he's referring to a guy, John Sanders, who's done 10 circumnavigations of the world. A lot of them were single-handed. The first one was in an SNS 34 by himself once. The next one he did twice in the SNS 34 without stopping. And the next one he did was 3 times around the world without stopping. And he did that in a bigger boat, about a 42-footer. And what he did was he doubled up on every single piece of rigging. So when you have 2 lowers each side, forward and aft lower, he had 8. So he had 2 bits. He had 2 cap shrouds for everything. He had 2 lots of inters. So it was like rigging the one mast with 2 complete sets of rig. Interesting question, but I don't think anyone would go to that extreme. Some people are looking at new ideas and concepts. I haven't got any answers yet. I've had a look at Sir Robin's first draft of the heavy weather plan, and it doesn't refer specifically to rig. I might back that up with some comments on what we're finding with rigging. I had a great conversation with Susie about her situation, and she's been speaking to Selden about her rig, which was way oversized. It was really big and solid. Had great conversations with Sparcraft here about Jean-Luc's rig, with Jean-Luc and so on, and there's all sorts of ideas, but I think it'll be a case of, at the end of the day, there will be no absolute black and white answers. It'll just be what you think is right for you. That's the easiest way to explain it. So, but certainly it needs to be well thought out, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's a bit hard to say. There's no answers there. Anyway, make sure you've got a good jury rig. Timothy Warens. One other question, Donald. I know you love I know I like the Trademan 35. And I do as well, but do you feel that a tillered boat is best for this type of race? Istvan has surely suffered many troubles with his wheel steering, and it seems like a tiller is just less complicated to fix should something go wrong. And as I've mentioned before, there's always sheet to tiller steering if necessary. Seems to me like all the works involved with wheeled steering complicate things. Well, the first thing is that you can always bypass that whole issue by fitting a hydrovane wind vane, because the hydrovane is an auxiliary rudder system, so it doesn't use the ship's steering system. You can lock the wheel, lock the ship's rudder, and the hydrovane works on the back with its own rudder and steers the boat from a very efficient position right at the back of the boat like a surfboard, and away you go. So it doesn't matter whether you've got wheel or tiller. If you've got a tiller, it's a lot simpler than a wheel. On my Tradewind 35, I was going to scrap the wheel anyway because you don't need it, and it's designed so that the rudder shaft comes up at the back of the cockpit floor, the cockpit sole, and you can easily fit a tiller onto that and just get rid of the traveller and put it up forward, or have a double block traveller system like you saw on Uki's boat yesterday and Jean-Luc's boat and so on. Yeah, tiller is obviously simpler. It's a lot less hassle. If you've got a servo pendulum system of self-steering like an Aries or the Wind Pilot, it just connects straight to the tiller, a lot less friction, a lot simpler. So yes, you've got the system right, And in the GGR, you can get rid of a pedestal and fit a tiller anytime you want. It's part of the rules. It's okay to do that. Rodney Dean, hi Don, can you explain further nuances of the self-steering options and improvements that Istvan discussed with you on the recent sat phone discussion? Well, it's been really interesting, Istvan and his wind vane. And I've got to say, poor old Peter, the owner of Wind Pilot, I've got to say, nice guy, gets a bit over the top with some of his blogs, doesn't get the facts right all the time, but nonetheless, nothing wrong with a Wind Pilot. Wind Pilot's a well-engineered, simple servo pendulum system. There's a couple of things I don't like about it, but that's fine. They still work. I think they have that arm sticking up at the top, which takes the ropes which are your steering lines effectively that go the tiller or the wheel. To have that as a straight piece that goes down to a block, that's just bad geometrics. And I'll explain it like this: if you have a mast on the deck of a trailer sailor and you want to lift that mast, if you run a boat from the masthead all the way back to the person in the cockpit and start pulling, you'll never lift that mast, because the angle of pull is wrong. It's a very inefficient power transfer. But if you put a strut up and run the line from the masthead to the top of the strut and back to the cockpit, and you just pull down on that line, you're going to lift that mast straight away. Okay, that's because it's an efficient power transfer. And when you have an arm that going like that, and it takes the rope from there down to a block there, watch what happens as that goes down. Right, this one here, which is doing the pulling, see how the angle is all wrong? It's just all wrong. It's inefficient. The best thing they could do is copy some of the others and put a radial quadrant there, so as it's coming down, the rope's rolling over the quadrant, and it goes to make it a lot more efficient. But anyway, everyone's got their own opinions. However, the Wind Pilot is there's nothing wrong with it. It'll steer a boat quite well. Istvan had problems in two areas. One is his pedestal's got some steering issues, and also the wheel drum that attached to the ship's wheel, there's something going on there. It wasn't working right, and that can happen. I don't know. Maybe he got a dud, or maybe there was something about the bolts and bits and pieces. But that's not really a problem with the wind vane. The wind vane's at the back. It'll work. It'll pull the ropes and it'll steer the boat. So that's one thing. With all your wind vanes, it's really simple. You just got to learn how to drive it, how to fly it, how to use it properly. And once you've done that, you'll find they're okay. But I've got to say, there's no question. The Hydrovane has worked brilliantly in the GGR. The Aries has worked brilliantly in the GGR. The Wind Pilot has worked in the GGR. There's some others that haven't. Okay, and they've got issues and they need to be addressed. And I know in the case of the Monitor, they know they've got serious problems with this type of boat in this type of event, and they've got to address that. And I heard from I've heard from someone the other day that they're aware they've got a problem and they'll address it. Having said that, there's plenty of monitors sailing all the way around the world, with cruising boats and this, that, and the other. They're okay. They're great units, but the GGR is particularly demanding because of the style of the boat in heavy weather, in storms. And if something breaks and you lose your wind vane in a storm, you've got a big problem. So that's part of what the GGR is, I suppose, trying to sort it out. Okay, next one. Tapio. Timothy Warrenas. Would an extremely strong rig of the type Tapio has work on most boats? I think he has extra shrouds and stays or something like that that you've mentioned, and that can be put in place when warranted. Well, it's certainly a good idea to have extra rigging, like you've got running backstays, even if you don't need them, you could have them. But you look at Joshua on Matessia's boat, he had so many wires coming down on his mast to keep it there. It was phenomenal. And you can do that as much as you like. Having a super strong rig, there's always problems. If you go too heavy and too strong, it affects the sailing performance, and it affects the riding moment of the boat and all these sorts of things. So everything's a trade-off, and I wouldn't like to say what's right or wrong. It's nice to have it super solid, and that way if you get knocked down or rolled over, well, it's going to be there. But everything's got pluses and minuses. So I hate to try and even suggest for anything what's right and what's wrong on this. Certainly his rig is phenomenal. The lowers are just massive. They're 12mm. John Luke wanted to have 6mm, and when you're talking distance there, if you look at the circumference of the difference between 6mm and 12mm is like 3 times the volume of the actual wire and 3 times the stride. So everyone's got a different idea. Tapio's still there, his mast's still there, and he's probably going to get to the finish line eventually, so touch wood. So you work it out, everyone's got a different attack on that. Okay, Peter Kostanich, interested in John Luke's anti-fouling strategy. Can you elaborate on that, and also what he did to strengthen his rig, etc.? Oh boy, they're 2 big subjects that we've covered in a lot of detail, but basically he used off-the-shelf, good quality anti-fouling. He had 3 layers of anti-fouling that were what you call medium strong in terms of the way they come off. And then the last one was a full ablative, soft anti-fouling. So as the boat's moving, it comes off, and the other 3 all sustain this. So the first layer's off down the Atlantic, and then he's got the others to get home, and it worked. He has got actually some small barnacles on the boat, some little ones. He hasn't touched the underwater profile yet. But nothing of real consequence. And there's plenty, and you might have seen some of the long route boats that have gone round. A couple of them went round without any real problems. A lot of them had problems as well. So my take on the anti-fouling thing is you get a good quality anti-fouling plate. You do some medium ones and some real fine ablative ones, and you just put it on, apply it right, and go from there, and you should be okay. And you need to look at the live we did with Jean-Luc. He explains everything on that. And with his rig, well, Jean-Luc just went lower to get less stress. That allowed him to, equivalent size wires are stronger, but some things didn't work. The wall thickness was really thin, and the load on the lowers was high, and it tore down the sides. So, there's a lot of discussion there. I could stand here probably for an hour and talk about that, but we did that also a bit with Jean-Luc's previous lives. So have a look at that. Jor Nordenstrom, what's the fastest speed that any of the entrants have reached that you know of? Well, Mark Slats was probably the biggest one that I know of. Was when he was just before Cape Horn. He was saying he was doing 15 to 20 a couple of times. The speeds that were taken from the boat that was following him, AIS, because Mark had an AIS transponder, and it's reading the speed of the boat via GPS within the AIS that Mark can't see. And it would, apparently, Mark said it was going between 15 and 20s and stuff like that. And that's entirely possible on these boats. You get them on big waves, or the right shape wave, doesn't have to be super big, and they'll start surfing, and that's quite possible. In terms of the highest average speeds over a 4-hour period, I think we saw 9.8s and 10s and stuff, but some of that was current assisted, so not too bad. Two more questions, I think. No, 3. Nuri Brajas. Good morning. As per the rules, should not have been Mark in Les Sables with his boat when Uku arrives this weekend. Oh, well, he was. Yeah, as per the rules, the first, second and third have to be here to meet each other. And they made a big effort to come back, so it was fantastic. And Uku was really upset about having to slow down because it was very hard after 252 days at sea. And, we gave him the options. It was his decision. He could have said yes or no. He decided to say yes to allow a good arrival in slightly better weather and all that stuff. And he was extremely happy he did that, having experienced the whole Les Sables thing. And that assisted Mark and Jean-Luc to meet their commitments to their fans and all that stuff and get back here on time. They both had a huge drive that night before, so that works out well. Kath Yule, when will the Suhaili replicas be available? Oh, that's the models. Okay, we're building some models. They're absolutely stunning. The first prototype has now been signed off by me, and they're building some more now. They're building 3 more. And those first 4 will be coming here, and we'll let you know. And then they're part of the trophies. And then once that's done, we will actually be releasing them as 50 extremely limited edition, beautiful models of Suhaili. They're quite stunning. Anyway, so stand by for that. Last one, Terry Senechal. Did Istvan ever consider changing the wheel to Attila on Puffin before the race? No, because if he had, he would have done it. So that's really about it. I'll put another question and answer up now, whether I do it on Saturday or Sunday. I'll try and do it on the weekend if there's enough questions there or whatever. Thanks for the following. Thanks for all the comments about all the entrants coming in. It's been pretty cool, and we've got 2 more to go, and we haven't had news from Igor for a while. Not sure what's happening there, but plenty of stuff happening. We'll let you know about all the 22 entrants starting from April the 22nd. They'll actually be here. You'll meet quite a few of them probably. We'll try and do a bit of a session. What we'll do, actually, that's the thought. Just thought of it then. Those that want to talk, some of them are confidential. They don't want it known yet that they're entering. But the others that don't, we might sit them all around the table, and we might do a 1-hour session of get to meet the new guys and girl over that Easter break. When they're here, I'll do a live session and we'll have a chat and see what you reckon. Okay, that's about it. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye bye.